Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Shemi Abashai Hashem Wadash. Double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone, even the elders that came before them. They taught us his truth. Shalom and salutations to all the brothers that pushing the word of truth and in sincerity, hopeful like Tabernacle of David. The elder Yahshua. I'm back with the World War III Daily Update. Shalom and salutations to you all. What is this? Is this Tuesday? Huh. I guess it is. Well, it's supposed to be the World War III Daily the War and Rumors of War Tuesday is what it's supposed to be. But I guess I'll save that for tomorrow because I have this other thing. Isaiah 14:10. All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become as weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Let's see. Let's get Joel. Well, bear with me for a moment. Joel 3:10. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Okay, or thou become like unto us. You're weak now too? You mean, not only are you weak, I'm strong. Okay, so, where was this? Right there. 405, I guess. Okay, let me start this. Open-minded thinker channel or whatever. It's an hour ago, so this is up to date. And that's what the World War III Daily Update is. Just a little snippet of, what's going on, what the newest thing is, most likely, And it's just a little bit. It's not, a dissertation. It's just the latest, It's been going on for years now, but, things only happen, one increment at a time. So, and we're going to listen to a portion of this. I'm going to cut out the little ads and as they begin to sell things.
Welcome. Today, we're diving deep into the most consequential geopolitical chess match on the planet. A story unfolding right now in the narrow turquoise waters of the Persian Gulf. You have likely heard the saber rattling from Washington and Tel Aviv, the thundering rhetoric of maximum pressure, and the arrogant declaration that the United States Navy has sealed the Strait of Hormuz shut.
But here's what's going on. So, when America came out and did their little thing, then what Iran did was they said, okay, well, we won't go that way then. We're going to bring the boats in a different way and go completely around you. So they completely circumvented Babylon, and Babylon is mad as hell. Right?
Iran has established a new safe passage which changes how ships can travel through the Strait of Hormuz.
Those shipping routes pass either side of Larak Island. That heavily guarded island is reportedly being used by the RIGC to monitor ship traffic.
4 Iran-linked tankers have crossed the strait despite Washington's naval blockade.
But in the last 72 hours, something absolutely remarkable has happened. It's a maneuver so elegant, so deeply tactical, and so humiliating for the American empire that naval strategists from Annapolis to Beijing are tearing up their old textbooks. Iran has just outsmarted the much-vaunted U.S. blockade with a stroke of strategic genius. It didn't involve sinking an American destroyer or firing a salvo of hypersonic missiles. It involved brains over brawn, sovereignty over subjugation, and a cleverly drawn line on a nautical chart known as the Larak Lane. And I promise you, by the end of this deep dive, you'll understand why even China...
What?
How much it infuriates the warmongers in D.C. All right, let's get into the nuts and bolts of this maritime genius. The U.S. blockade was designed to be a wall. They positioned their naval assets to create a choke point between Sohar in Oman and Bandar Jask in Iran. The idea was simple. Any vessel moving in or out of Iranian waters would be boarded, detained, or turned back under the threat of the big guns of the U.S. Fifth Fleet. It was a blunt instrument of coercion. But the Iranian military, with a deep historical understanding of these waters, simply decided, we'll build a new road. And they did. They established the Hormuz Passage Trial Anchorage route, colloquially dubbed the Larak Lane, or the Keshem Corridor. Here's the brilliance. The Americans were patrolling the open international waters of the Gulf of Oman. Iran simply shifted the maritime highway inside its own territorial waters. This new route bypasses Larak Island and hugs the northern shore of Keshem Island, just south of Bandar Abbas. And what was waiting for the merchant vessels inside these Iranian territorial waters? Not just empty promises. They were met by a massive buzzing swarm of Iranian military speedboats. These aren't just fishing vessels with a machine gun bolted on. These are heavily armed, highly maneuverable attack craft, the backbone of Iran's asymmetric naval doctrine. They formed a moving, impenetrable escort wall that the Americans could not legally touch without entering Iranian waters, which would have triggered a direct, all-out war. Washington wanted a blockade. Tehran gave them a protected sovereign transit lane. Now, you might be wondering, how do we know this is working, and how did it start? It started with a very clear, very brutal message to the rest of the world. Stick to the U.S. rules in international waters at your own peril. The Iranian route is the only safe route. This was underlined dramatically in March, when the bulk carrier Mayuri Nari was transiting southeast of Oman, clearly not using the Iranian corridor. Out of nowhere, 2 projectiles slammed into the vessel, igniting a ferocious fire on board. The crew had to abandon ship, and the vessel eventually drifted, a smoking hulk, until it ran aground on the coast of Keshem Island. This wasn't an accident. This was a surgical, targeted warning shot heard around the world. The message from Tehran was unmistakable. You can trust the criminal U.S. Navy, which can't even protect its own vessels from the Lebanese resistance, or you can trust the proven, established security of the Larak Lane. Unsurprisingly, the world's smart money, and the world's vital oil, chose the latter. The U.S. blockade was not just being bypassed, it was being shown up as a farce. The Americans were now effectively guarding empty water, while the real traffic, the real money, and the real strategic influence flowed right past them, shielded by Iranian guns and Iranian law. And this is where the reaction from Beijing gets absolutely fascinating. And it's a dynamic that sends shivers down the spine of the military-industrial complex. China, of course, has its own deep vested interests here.
Okay, so this is where the game changes. Okay? Because when we keep watching this, we're going to move into Ezekiel 38, where Russia is sending ships of their own and weapons. Okay? So I'm going to just continue to let this go until we get to that point. I'll get Ezekiel 38 real quick and let it go.
They are the world's largest importer of crude, and a significant chunk of that flows through Hormuz. But what shocked Beijing was the speed and sovereignty with which Iran acted. You see, China had its own contingency plans. They were ready to rely on strategic petroleum reserves, on overland pipelines, on a slow, grinding economic weatherproofing that would take years to mitigate a full closure. They were prepared for a long, painful stalemate. They were not prepared for Iran to solve the crisis in a matter of days by simply creating a new, sovereign, secure route that favored their allies. And who was the first major beneficiary? China. A U.S.-sanctioned Chinese tanker, the Rich Starry, didn't just evade the blockade. It sailed right through the strait with the implicit protection of the Iranian Navy, essentially giving a giant middle finger to Washington's entire strategic posture. This forced Beijing to take a much harder, more public stance.
And right away they came out condemning Babylon's actions, which they haven't done to this point. Okay, everybody has kind of been just watching as Trump runs around like a spoiled brat. But now, what we're watching here, okay, is them being drawn out. Okay. Today, I don't know what happened yesterday. The talks fell apart over the weekend. Yesterday was Monday. Guess what Lisa the Flog did? Drew them out. Here they come, watch.
China condemned the U.S. blockade as dangerous and irresponsible, warning that the world could not be allowed to revert to the law of the jungle,
Ooh.
a sharp, pointed barb aimed directly at American unilateralism. They also made it crystal clear they would not tolerate any form of piracy in the international waters off the coast of the Persian Gulf. The shock wasn't that Iran resisted, it was that Iran won so decisively and so fast, pulling Beijing closer to a new, Iran-defined order in the Gulf. And let's not forget the big bear in the room, because Russia is not sitting idly by while the Americans try to play world police in waters that Moscow considers vital to its own sphere of influence. In a move that significantly raises the stakes and restores a powerful deterrent against American adventurism, Russia has reportedly dispatched a warship and over 3 submarines to the waters of the Persian Gulf and the Arabian Sea. This is not a coincidence. This is Moscow sending a very cold, very clear message to the Pentagon. The presence of these assets, particularly the quiet, deadly submarines, changes the entire calculus for the U.S. carrier groups. An American admiral now has to think twice about aggressively intercepting an Iranian tanker if a Russian attack boat is silently gliding through the deep thermocline just a few nautical miles away.
Bear with me. This is easy. 38. I'm going to just kind of outline it here, okay? Here we have Russia, the land of Magog. Okay, that's Russia, the land of Magog. All right, so this is who is being spoken to. The Most High is saying, I'm dealing with you, Russia. Okay? He's saying it right here. Right? I am against you, Russia. Okay? And then it says, I'm going to get you on the battlefield. Right? I'm going to get you ready. Your army, all your folks, and here's who I'm putting with you. Here's who will accompany you. Iran. Okay? Syria. Slovakia. This is Syria. This is Turkey. Okay, so anyway, this is Iran. Here it says, get ready. Who? Get ready who? Prepare yourself. Who is this talking to? It's talking to Russia, the land of Magog. Russia, do what? Get ready, Russia. Prepare yourself. You and all your company gathered around. Who's that? Accompanying them. Who? Iran. These little African countries. Right? Turkey. Syria. With all the troops. Many nations, China, North Korea, with you. Get ready and get all the people, even many nations, with you and all your company. What is your company? They have now become part of the Russian army. Hordes gathered about you. Armies around you mobile. Keep all the armies around you mobilized, assembled. All your hosts that are assembled about you. These hosts, these other armies now belong to Russia. All your hosts that are assembled about you. You and all your company gathered around you. All your company. You and all your company is all these other ones that were named. Thou and all of them. all your, not thy, your company that are assembled unto you, you and all your companies that are gathered about you, and be a guard for them. This means be prepared, you, and what does it mean to be prepared? It means to get everything you need. Make sure they have everything they need because they're part of the same army. All your contingents that are assembled around you. All your companies, your assembly, your hordes, sold, and all the soldiers assembled. You and all the soldiers assembled around you. You will be their leader because they now belong in your army. All of them. You're all one army now. All his troops ready at his command. You and all of your many battalions that have gathered together around you to protect you. How about that? Be prepared. Yes, prepare yourself, you and all of your many battalions that have gathered together around you to protect you. Many battalions. What does that go back to? The many nations with you. You and all your company gathered around you. The many nations is all of these, starting from Iran, and then whoever wasn't mentioned, like China, who's obviously, you got Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un, whatever this nigga's name is. He already sent contingents over there to fight right now against Zelensky and them, if you understand. So that's what that is. Okay. They're going to make sure that they got everything they need. Okay. They're coming with them U-boats. Right? Tra la la, la la lee, 40 acres and a mule, Negroes singing, tired toys are singing. A Russian U-boat with a nuclear motor, right?
Particularly the quiet, deadly submarines, changes the entire calculus for the U.S. carrier groups. An American admiral now has to think twice about aggressively intercepting an Iranian tanker if a Russian attack boat is silently gliding through the deep thermocline just a few nautical miles away. The Russians are there to monitor the situation, but more importantly, they are there to restore confidence in the security.
More importantly, why are they there? Those have gathered their ass there. King James, Joel 3 and 2 says, I, the Most High, will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Yehoshaphat and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Here's who's doing it and why. What is he doing? I will also gather all nations. Here's what's going on. Let's be very specific about it in the NLT. Joel 3 and 2 in the NLT. I will gather the armies of the world into the valley of Yehoshaphat. That's what we're watching. They're doing what? They're doing what?
Calculus for the U.S. carrier groups. An American admiral now has to think twice about aggressively intercepting an Iranian tanker if a Russian attack boat is silently gliding through the deep thermocline just a few nautical miles away. The Russians are there to monitor the situation, but more importantly, they are there to restore confidence in the security equation. They are signaling to the world that the U.S. cannot act with impunity, that there are other great powers with skin in the game. This is the kind of multipolar deterrence that Iran has been strategically cultivating for years. It's not an official alliance, but it's a powerful silent partnership that makes the U.S. Navy's job exponentially more difficult and dangerous. The days of the U.S. Fifth Fleet acting as the sole bully on the block are, quite frankly, over. And if we're talking about a declaration of war, which a naval blockade unequivocally is under international law, we have to talk about what comes next. Iran is not a nation that absorbs blows without a response. They have already stated that any seizure of Iranian assets or vessels will be met with a decisive and proportionate response. But the reality of what they are doing is far more sophisticated. They aren't just reacting, they are proactively redefining the rules of engagement. Reports indicate that Iranian naval forces now have standing orders to target any U.S. flotilla that threatens the safety of their country's vessels or warships.
Let the weak say, I'm running things.
They are not waiting to be shot at. The Iranian Navy has turned the strait into a live fire warning zone for the Americans. And given the constant plausible reports of ships originating from Iran being held and harassed on the high seas, the response is no longer theoretical, it is happening in real time. We are seeing Iranian helicopters shadowing and even forcing U.S. destroyers to alter course, as was the case with the USS Fitzgerald, where an Iranian chopper brazenly intercepted the American warship and told them to back off. And they did. This is the new normal. The American empire is being boxed in, and they are learning the hard way that the Persian Gulf is not the Potomac River. As we wrap this up, there is a critical new development that underscores just how volatile and unpredictable this situation has become. While the focus remains on the Hormuz choke point, Iran has demonstrated its ability to project power across the entire region with pinpoint accuracy. In a stark reminder that their reach extends far beyond the strait, Iranian drones recently struck fuel storage tanks at the port of Salalah in Oman. This was a carefully calibrated strike designed to show that any nation or entity cooperating too closely with the U.S.-Israeli war machine against Iran's interests will face the consequences. It's a warning that the entire Gulf energy infrastructure is vulnerable. The Americans can park their carriers wherever they want, but they cannot protect every single oil tank farm, desalination plant, or port facility from the swarm of drones and the barrage of precision missiles that Iran has at its disposal.
It's World War III. That's all you're saying. Close it just like that. This is Rev 11. The old layout. Revelation 11, 14. The second woe has passed. Behold, the third woe is coming shortly, according to all of that. Right? They're being gathered in the valley of Yehoshaphat right now. With that, we pray that the